Penguin Random House Audio presents The Brain, The Story of You. This is the author, David Eagleman. Introduction. Brain science is a fast-moving field, and so it's rare to step back to view the lay of the land, to work out what our studies mean for our lives, to discuss in a plain and simple way what it means to be a biological creature. This book sets out to do that. Brain science matters. The strange computational material in our skulls is the perceptual machinery by which we navigate the world, the stuff from which decisions arise, the material from which imagination is forged. Our dreams and our waking lives emerge from its billions of zapping cells. A better understanding of the brain sheds light on what we take to be real in our personal relationships and what we take to be necessary in our social policy. How we fight, why we love, what we accept as true, how we should educate, how we can craft better social policy, and how to design our bodies for the centuries to come. In the brain's microscopically small circuitry is etched the history and the future of our species. Given the brain's centrality to our lives, I used to wonder why our society so rarely talks about it, preferring instead to fill our airwaves with celebrity gossip and reality shows. But I now think this lack of attention to the brain can be taken not as a shortcoming, but as a clue. We're so trapped inside our reality that it's very difficult to realize we're trapped inside anything. At first blush, it seems that perhaps there's nothing to talk about. Of course colors exist in the outside world. Of course my memory is like a video camera. Of course I know the real reason for my beliefs. This book will put all our assumptions under the spotlight. In writing it, I wanted to get away from a textbook model in favor of illuminating a deeper level of inquiry, how we decide, how we perceive reality, who we are, how our lives are steered, why we need other people, and where we're heading as a species that's just beginning to grab its own reins. This project attempts to bridge the gap between the academic literature and the lives we lead as brain owners. The approach I take here diverges from the academic journal articles I write, and even from my other neuroscience books. This project is meant for a different kind of audience. It doesn't presuppose any specialized knowledge, only curiosity and an appetite for self-exploration. So strap in for a whistle-stop tour into the inner cosmos, in the infinitely dense tangle of billions of brain cells and their trillions of connections. I hope that you'll be able to squint and make out something that you might not have expected to see in there. You. Chapter 1. Who am I? All the experiences in your life, from single conversations to your broader culture, shape the microscopic details of your brain. Neurally speaking, who you are depends on where you've been. Your brain is a relentless shape-shifter, constantly rewriting its own circuitry. And because your experiences are unique, so are the vast, detailed patterns in your neural networks. Because they continue to change your whole life, your identity is a moving target. It never reaches an endpoint. Although neuroscience is my daily routine, I'm still in awe every time I hold a human brain. After you take into account its substantial weight, an adult brain weighs in at about 3 pounds, and its strange consistency like firm jelly, and its wrinkled appearance, deep valleys carving a puffy landscape, what's striking is the brain's sheer physicality. This hunk of unremarkable stuff seems so at odds with the mental processes it creates. Our thoughts and our dreams, our memories and experiences all arise from this strange neural material. Who we are is found within its intricate firing patterns of electrochemical pulses. When that activity stops, so do you. When that activity changes character, due to injury or drugs, you change character in lockstep. Unlike any other part of your body, if you damage a small piece of the brain, who you are is likely to change radically. To understand how this is possible, let's start at the beginning. Born unfinished. At birth, we humans are helpless. We spend about a year unable to walk, about 2 more before we can articulate full thoughts, and many more years unable to fend for ourselves. We are totally dependent on those around us for our survival. Now, compare this to many other mammals. Dolphins, for instance, are born swimming. Giraffes learn to stand within hours. A baby zebra can run within 45 minutes of birth. Across the animal kingdom, our cousins are strikingly independent soon after they're born. On the face of it, that seems like a great advantage for other species, but in fact, it signifies a limitation. Baby animals develop quickly because their brains are wiring up according to a largely pre-programmed routine. But that preparedness trades off with flexibility. Imagine if some hapless rhinoceros found itself on the Arctic tundra, or on top of a mountain in the Himalayas, or in the middle of urban Tokyo. It would have no capacity to adapt, which is why we don't find rhinos in those areas. This strategy of arriving with a prearranged brain works inside a particular niche in the ecosystem, but put an animal outside of that niche, and its chances of thriving are low. In contrast, humans are able to thrive in many different environments, from the frozen tundra to the high mountains to bustling urban centers. This is possible because the human brain is born remarkably unfinished. Instead of arriving with everything wired up, let's call it hardwired, a human brain allows itself to be shaped by the details of life experience. This leads to long periods of helplessness as the young brain slowly molds to its environment. It's live-wired. The human brain's ability to shape itself to the world into which it's born has allowed our species to take over every ecosystem on the planet and begin our move into the solar system. Childhood pruning, exposing the statue in the marble. What's the secret behind the flexibility of young brains? It's not about growing new cells. In fact, the number of brain cells is the same in children and adults. Instead, the secret lies in how those cells are connected. At birth, a baby's neurons are disparate and not very connected, and in the first 2 years of life, they begin connecting up extremely rapidly as they take in sensory information. As many as 2 million new connections or synapses are formed every second in an infant's brain. By age 2, a child has over 100 trillion synapses, double the number an adult has. It has now reached a peak and has far more connections than it will need. At that point, the blooming of new connections is supplanted by a strategy of pruning. As you mature, 50% of your synapses will be pared back. Which synapses stay and which go? When a synapse successfully participates in a circuit, it's strengthened. In contrast, synapses weaken if they aren't useful, and eventually they're eliminated. Just like paths in a forest, you lose the connections that you don't use. In a sense, the process of becoming who you are is defined by carving back the possibilities that were already present. You become who you are not
Sample complete. Ready to continue?